More than 300,000 new jobs were created in the last month. Economists were only seeing 225,000. I always laugh, you guys, because the United States has thousands of economists, Canada, hundreds of economists. How do you always get it so wrong? Well, the jobs report are in Canada and the United States, and my God, they're both a disaster. They're not doing anything good for the economy. Listen, it's pretty clear every time we hear from the Bank of Canada or the US Federal Reserve, they're saying that inflation is way too high and way too many people are working. So, what they need to do is they need less people working, more unemployment, and they need inflation. We already got the inflation numbers already, you guys. We already did that. Inflation is running really hot in Canada. It's running really hot in the United States. So all we could possibly hope for is a jobs number that is coming more in line with what they're looking for. And my goodness, they did not get it. All right, let's take a look today. The jobs report, the U.S. economy added 311,000 jobs in February as the labor market is strong. We're going to be going over the Canadian numbers in just a second, but we see that unemployment is very high. It's higher than what they expected, but nominally, nothing. But here is another problem is that hourly wages are going up. We have heard many times from the central banks of North America and Europe saying like it's like your patriotic duty. Do not give your employees a raise. It's your patriotic duty to not ask for a raise because you're part of the problem. Of course, it's not the government's printing the money, right? That's not the problem. It's you asking for a raise to buy food for your family. So let's check this out. More than 300,000 new jobs were created in the last month in the face of stubborn inflation, aggressive rate hikes. Economists were only seeing 225,000. I always laugh, you guys, because the United States has thousands of economists, Canada, hundreds of economists. How do you always get it so wrong? I mean, honestly, if you are that far off, I can't imagine me in my job when the home is worth $1 million and we're trying to sell it for a million. I'm like, I think it's only worth 500,000. Like, you can't be that off. I mean, that's that's their profession. I find that very funny. Do you find that funny? I'd like to know. Leave a comment below if you think that's funny. All right. So, U.S. labor market is in tough spot. Now, if you see this unemployment rate, notice what it was in the middle of the lockdowns 14, 15%, right? Where we are right now, around 4%. The government wants it somewhere between 7 and 10%. It has to go up a lot, a lot more people got to lose their jobs, man. So it says the pace of growth is surely too rapid for the Fed's liking. Absolutely. Now, 105,000 of those jobs were in the leisure and hospitality. Of course, we're seeing that all the time, right? Because people now are going on vacations, they're taking flights, they're going to see their families. Like, things are getting a little bit back more to normal. And so hotels are getting full, restaurants are getting full. But this is also a problem because we're seeing all the layoffs out there are all happening at banks, at mortgage places, at tech companies. The high paying jobs where they're making a couple 100,000 are disappearing. And so when that job is gonzo and then they come back down and they go, but you can have a job over at Burger King flipping burgers. It's not the same. A job is not a job. There's a lot less money going around in the market. All right. Now let's jump over to the Canadian job numbers. Inflation has got to come down and this job increase has got to come down. In Canada, they have so many similarities between Canada and the United States. Unemployment is at 5%. They need this to be at 7, 8%. They need it a lot higher. If we look at the unemployment rate, we can see that over time, as inflation has been kicking everybody's butt, unemployment is still going down. They want this much, much higher. They want this. They want 8% again. This is not good for them to give us a reason why to lower those rates. I find these charts very, very interesting. Take a look at this. Is that you could look at by age group where people are. Look at this. Over 55, a lot more people are jumping into the market. So these are people that could be retired. They could have been, but now they got to pay for their kids and they're jumping back into the workforce. You guys, this is the same. Canada, the United States, seniors are staying working for longer. Also, I found this very, very interesting is between the sexes, male and female. Of course, there's more men in the market that are working. You see right here, 9 million, because of these wonderful women are staying home and looking after these beautiful kids. Just they're saints. But look at this number just since 2021 from 6 million all the way up to 7.2 million. There's a lot more people now that are having to go and work, not just full time. Even the part timers have had to really increase how many women are having to go out and still raise their children and still go and work. Unbelievable. Now, employment is going up. Now, I did find this interesting. Look at this. Can we read this together? The employment rate for women ages 25 to 54 saw an increase of 2.1 percentage points, which remains at an all-time high since the numbers were recorded. Part of this is coming from women of this age group with children under the age of 6 who are working, which is likely a reflection of the impact of inflation. This year alone, the employment rate grew from 72 to 76%. So this is continuing on the story that as inflation is going up, people are getting squeezed, and we're seeing the prices that they're willing to pay in the store for frivolous things. They're not really buying that, but the essentials when it comes to diapers, baby food, or regular food for anybody, or gas to heat your home, the prices are so high that we're seeing more and more people jumping into the part-time market, into the full-time market. And we're seeing that in the numbers as people are getting hurt by this inflation. Also, non-permanent resident employment went up 13%. So this is people who are not permanent residents, not landed immigrants. This could be all the refugees that are coming from the southern border from the US up. We saw a lot of Ukrainians coming into the country. They're jumping on jobs too. Although they have government payments coming to them, they still are working as well. They have work permits and they're allowed to do that. So this is going to continue to be the story. Remember, the money that the government's overspent in 2020, 2021, this is the bill that has to be paid, right? They spent so much money and now they're trying to get that money back. And so this is what happens is it soaks through the money that is printed, soaks through the economy, and it dilutes the value of the dollars that you have. Now, this high inflation is going to be with us for a while. It's probably going to be around for a lot longer than you expect. So whether you're in Canada or the United States, regardless, it's kind of like mirror images on both sides. The only difference really is that Canada has decided to pause their interest rates and the US has gone up. So if we remember that as the US raises their interest rate, their dollar gets more valuable in the world stage. Everyone says, wow, you guys have extra money lying around. You can afford to do that. It's pretty good. It's pretty solid. Whereas Canada paused their interest rates and it's dropped. Here is the problem. I did another video about this. In the past 12 months, we've dropped almost 8% in the value of the Canadian dollar. So because Canada imports so much of the stuff, $750 billion worth of stuff from other countries every year, that now all became 8% more expensive. Regardless of the inflation that we're having here, that 8% is just the value to the US dollar that has changed in the past year. So we have multiple inflationary forces on top of it. Just for you to remember, that 8% of 750 billion is $50 billion that Canadians are going to be taxed now. And that's going to be added to every liter of gas, every piece of food, every car that you buy, everything. So, man, it's going to be really, really, really tough on people. I think things are going to be getting a lot worse before they get better. Now, I don't always want to be pessimistic. Here is the great thing. If you have prepared yourself, you have some wonderful, wonderful things that are going to be happening as we're going to see prices come into a line. Amazing time to open businesses, amazing time to buy properties. Also, if you remember what I've been talking about since I ever came online, try to buy a little bit of gold and a little bit of silver. Remember that this piece of silver 100 years ago bought 30 loaves of bread, 50 years ago bought 30 loaves of bread, 25 years ago 30 loaves of bread. Today would buy 30 loaves of bread. It's always the same. It holds its purchasing power. So try to get some of your money outside of the banking system like this, because as we saw today that happened in California, banks can collapse and hundreds of billions of dollars evaporate. So be careful out there, my friends. I wish you the very, very best. If this helps you at all, please consider subscribing. Please send it to a friend, and we'll talk to you soon.